Welcome everyone to Buying Local. I'm your host, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media. Excited about today's podcast. We've got Travis Stealey from Saratoga Comedy Festival that's coming to Saratoga. When is that, Travis? Is that September?
Yep, September 11th and 12th at the Saratoga City Center.
Very nice. So Travis, before we get into Saratoga Comedy Festival, we should probably hear a little bit about you, about how funny you are. I know we talked about that before we started. Go ahead and give us the broad strokes.
So kinda it started, like, comedy-wise, how I just got into it kinda by accident, and, there was some random kid that I was friends with on Facebook because I will accept any friend request because it always could be an adventure, and, he was posting his sets, and, one night I may or may not had a few too many to drink, and I left a comment and was like, "That really wasn't that good," and he responded right back and said, "Oh, you think you can do it? Come on out." So I went, did my first open mic and bombed. Like, no laughs for the longest 5 minutes I've ever had. And, I realized I was like, "Oh, I should probably learn how to get good at this." And, took a bunch of years. I still don't think I'm funny, but when people book me, I'm like, "Okay, if you wanna waste your money." But, nah, I keep getting booked, so I'm like, "Alright." And I mean, there's a bunch of people I could thank for, like, helping me and all that, but then, I started traveling more with comedy. Like, it got to the point I was doing Hawaii every year. Um, done a couple festivals, just traveled a bunch, and then started producing my own shows too. Just to kind of give the capital area or Saratoga, everyone around, like a really good show, like for their money.
What what is it? I'm sure I think most people can attest to what it feels like to bomb in front of a room. Not necessarily with the humor, but in anything, right? If you've ever done any kind of public speaking, especially when you think you're funny. But wh- I have to understand, like, you're getting ready for your first open mic. You obviously you wrote some jokes, right?
Hmm.
So you prepared and you thought it was gonna be good. What makes it bad or good? Like, you're writing something you think is funny and then it ends up not being funny.
Well, it's weird too that it's something that I've noticed that I think like a lot of comics might relate to this is if I find it hilarious, chances are nobody else finds it funny. That's something I've noticed where I'm like, "Haha, that was the funniest thing ever." It's kinda like when you're showing your buddy something hilarious, and they have that awkward stare, like they don't wanna hurt your feelings. Like,
Mhm.
they're like, "This isn't funny, but sure, yeah." But that was how I was in the beginning, and, because I was like, "Yo, this story is hilarious. It's gonna be the greatest thing I've ever told. I'm gonna make them all die. I'm gonna be at Madison Square Garden by Friday." Like, that was my mindset. And you go up, and right in the beginning, you realize, "Oh, wait a minute, this is just a long story that no one's gonna pay attention to." And, by the end of it, you're like, "And that's what happened." And everyone's just looking at you like, "So are you getting off stage now or what's up? Like, are you done with us?" So, yeah, at this point now, writing is a lot, I say easier, but it's also different than what it was, 10 years ago when I was writing. So, um, it gets to the point now, you write about your life, you write about things that happen. You could be a political comic if you want, not really my thing. Um, but it all depends on what you think will make the audience laugh. And then you just keep working, and keep working to finally get it.
That's interesting. Now, do you find that, like, do you change your set when you get in front of a room depending on how things are going or who you're in front of?
Sometimes it depends. Like, for example, I did a room about a month ago actually, and I was headlining it, and we had two shows that night in two different spots. So we went and did the early show, and then we got in the car and drove another 15 minutes to the headlining spot, and there was only 8 people there. So I'm like, all right, we're just gonna acknowledge this right off the bat, and I did 57 minutes on stage, and I'd say about 55 of it was crowd work. I learned basically their social security numbers at that point. Um, but I mean, you could also have a full room and just your first word "the" could crush, and you just keep going with your set. So it really depends on the audience, depends on the crowd. A good comic will work with anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, you could say it depends on the room. So,
When now you say work the crowd, so like, I see reels all the time of comics and they're interacting with the crowd, and
Mhm.
is that like a useful tool to like just start, and I mean, at some point you basically start making fun of them, right? As far as the crowd goes.
You can, yeah. So there so this is, I guess the new trend is crowd work comics. And it's like I'm not bashing him. Look at, Matt Rife, that's how he got famous and
Yep.
he's killing it. Can't be mad at it. I'm more jealous of the fact that he could sell out stadiums doing it. Um, but you know, I guess I'm a little more old school. I look at it like you gotta have material. You gotta have material because sometimes the crowd won't give you anything. And then you're like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And the person's silent. And you're like, "Okay." Or the person's like, "I work in construction." And you're like, "Ah, well, we've heard everything about construction." Okay, that's not gonna make the audience laugh. So how am I gonna be different? All their buddies have made the same construction jokes I'm gonna make. So it's like, you gotta move around, but I'm a big proponent of have material, you can always go to crowd work, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, 57 minutes of trying to be funny sounds like an eternity to me. Like, if it goes bad and there's
Yeah,
crickets, you know what I mean? Like, but you still gotta stay up there. You can't just
yeah.
run back behind stage. Like, how do you deal with that?
So when we got there, me and another comic, we did the road trip, and even the promoter was like, "Hey, not a lot of sales tonight," which I'm like, "Okay." I'm thinking not a lot of sales as in I've done this room before. I'm
Mhm.
thinking not a lot of sales. At least it's going to be halfway filled. And we get there, and there's this two older ladies, which I have a funny story with them about that room, sitting towards the front. And then there was two tables in the back. So it was like that awkward, Thanksgiving dinner where no one wants to sit near you except grandma, and the rest of the people are all the way in the back. So I acknowledged it right off the bat. I'm like, give it up for this sold out room. Like I'm really excited that the town had so much to do tonight that you decided not to come here. And you just, you have fun with it. You mess around, you do. Because like it's kind of like, the 7-foot comic who doesn't make a tall joke,
Mhm.
or the 500-pound guy who doesn't acknowledge his weight. You have to acknowledge it at least once, you know?
Okay.
So I acknowledged it and then I played around with it, had fun. Turns out there was actually a blind guy in the audience, so I had fun with him for like 20 minutes. And of course, like, and his family brought him, and I'm like, "So did your family tell you you're going to, like, the sold out Jerry Seinfeld room and then just brought you here because you can't see anything?" And, we just had fun with it. So you just if you can have fun with it and, make it work, the time I think I did, like I said, about 2 minutes worth of material. The rest of it was just having fun and just moving around the room, so
Yeah. I I always wonder, like, when I see comics doing what you say is called crowd work, like, sometimes they say things I'm like, "Ooh, like they're going too far." Like, do you ever worry about going too far in those situations?
In the beginning, I worried about it. Now, I mean, I believe me, you could tell when you went too far. Um, but now I look at it like if I went too far, I can bring you back. Like, I'll bring you back. Sometimes you can't bring them back, which, hey, it happens. And as a comic, watching that from the side of the stage is hilarious.
I bet it
Being
is.
being the comic on stage, though, you're like, oh, I just ruined this room real quick. So, I've been on both ends of that spectrum. I've had one time I had a bottle thrown at me, which was hilarious to me. Um, One time I had someone tried fighting me after the show, and I was like, I didn't say anything that bad, I don't think. And it's just everything in between. Um, I had a lady one time, actually, one of my first shows that I ever produced. I was at a firehouse in Latham. Sold out room. I was beyond happy. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, so everything was good. And I noticed there was a nun in the audience. Now, I was maybe 4 years into the game, so I really wasn't. I don't know. There's some people that might be better than me at 4 years in. That's fine. But I was like, I'll let someone else acknowledge it. So I did a joke about Tinder, like all the hacks do and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and then I see her on her phone and I'm like, all right, I got to acknowledge it. And I was like, ma'am, I was like, are my jokes that bad? You're getting on your phone and you're bored?" And she goes, "No, I want to see what Tinder's like." So I got a nun to get on Tinder, and I'm like, I'm not religious, but I feel like even Jesus was like, "That was a good one. That was a good one." Well,
I guess I was thinking about, like you were saying, the bottle flying at you and the guy wanting to fight you. I mean, I guess, at its rawest form, right? Comedy, the objective is to get someone into an emotional state, right? So I guess
yep.
maybe maybe not always that emotion, but
No, I mean, I'm
um,
not trying to get him to throw stuff at me or to fight
yeah.
him, but it just, one time it happened. I mean, one time this guy's girlfriend just wouldn't be quiet, and I give him the rule of three, where it's like by my second joke, if you're still talking, I'm gonna acknowledge it. And eventually I just was like, "Sweetheart, either you're gonna get kicked out or be quiet. You decide." I know it's a podcast, but I did say a few choice words about her. Um, and I got the whole audience. Now, this was up in Toronto on the Super Trooper tour. Um, I got the whole audience to raise their hand and say the one word that women don't like towards her. And yeah, then her boyfriend was not too thrilled with me after the show.
I bet not. I bet not.
Yeah. So,
I know we want to talk about the comedy festival. I got one more question about
all
comedy
good.
because it's just
Fire away.
it
So,
fascinates me and I like we were talking about before the show, like I think I'm funny sometimes and most of the time when I think I'm being funny, I'm not. Um the idea that like do you do kind of like the same sets and kind of get better at them? Like that's something I've heard about on like other podcasts where they're talking about like,
yeah.
I'll do the same set 20 shows in a row and it's like the 20th time by the time it's actually funny. Like is that something that you do as well or
Yeah, so not every single set is going to be word for word exactly,
Mhm.
53 minutes and 17 seconds long or something like that. But you try to do so, you start off, you write the material, then you test it out. Not one joke is perfect the second you write it.
Mhm.
It may get a lot of laughs the first time you say it, but then, the next night you're like, "Oh, I got a new word I need to add in there, or I need to move it around to a different spot of the set." Um, but like, yeah, I mean, there's times where, I know what my closer is going to be. I know that when I start doing my closer, I have 7 minutes left. And then, there's a new bit about the girlfriend that like, I know that's going to be 10 minutes and I know where I'm going to put that. I like doing a lot of callbacks. So like, if I say a joke at minute 8, I'll make a callback to it later on at like 15 and it's like, haha, so you're paying attention, things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you write it out and you do it the right way, a lot of your sets are going to be similar, show to show. They're, eventually once you just want to burn all the material and start over again, then the next night is like, all right, brand new. And that's the more exciting part, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you burning it because you're bored with it? You think it's played
Yes
out
and
or
no. I'm not, I don't know. I'm very, I guess, what's the term, I guess? I'll never say I'm funny and I'll never say that I'm like a headliner, but I mean, if someone wants to book me, more than welcome to. And then sometimes I'll be doing jokes and I'm like, yeah, I did that like 6 months ago. And I'm like, I should just film it. It may be a terrible special. I'll just film it. So then I don't have to do it anymore. Like that's a way that I know a lot of comics do that. They go the second that it's on tape, it's done. I won't do it ever again.
interesting?
And I kinda like that mindset because it's like a crutch. You're like, "All right." It forces you to write better, it forces you to get better. It forces you to actually put in the work and grind and do all that stuff. So,
Yeah. And how do you test jokes? Like, do you get a
um
bunch of buddies on the couch and start delivering material to them?
well, the downside with my friends is they'll laugh at anything. So I think that's where that false self-confidence came in.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, "Yeah, I am pretty funny." And then I actually got around funny people and I was like, "I'm not funny at all." Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, you can test it out. In the beginning, you write, you write, you write. You can test it out with buddies. You go to open mics. You test it out there. You usually get 5 minutes at an open mic to test out. Um, and then now I'm doing it to where I'm working every weekend pretty much. So if I'm doing anywhere from 20 to, an hour, if I have a new 5 minutes, I'll throw it in there in front of an audience. And I'm not saying do this for all comics. I'm saying there is that level that, like, once you get to that, you can do that, because then you're testing it in front of a real audience. You can see how it sounds, see if it works. If it doesn't, okay, cool. You can go right back to your actual stuff that's already written, ready to go. So it really just depends on where you want to test it. There's many different options to test it out.
All right, last question about being a comedian.
All
And then
good.
we'll move on to the comedy
I'm
festival.
talking about myself. Come on now. I don't mind.
So, like, how long did it take you before you felt like you were actually being funny and started to get like that first open mic was a bomb, nobody laughed, it was crickets, you kind of just limped off stage. What
Yeah.
where does it go from there? Like, how do you keep at it and keep doing it until you finally get someone to laugh and that's your small validation to keep going, or what does that look like?
So I'll be honest, my first 6 months at open mics were terrible. Like, I thought, like, the offensive jokes were great. I thought, all the trash stuff was great. All the stuff that, like, teenage you was funny, and like, stuff that you see on the dark side of the web that you can only share with, those certain friends.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is cool. And I honestly, I was about to quit because I was like, I'm not doing anything with this. This hobby is not, it was frustrating because I couldn't get laughs. And two things helped me. One was a book called The Comedy Bible. And then another thing was a comedian in the area named Rich Williams. And he, he has the credits. I'll give him that. He's got a comedy. He's been on Comedy Central. He's got a special. He wrote for a bunch of TV shows and movies and stuff. And when he told me that, I was just like, sure, dude, you live in Schenectady and you did all this? Yeah, I bet. And, I saw the proof. I saw it all. And his exact words were, listen, you have good ideas. You are just terrible at delivering them. So, and I was like, all right, yeah, the proof is there. Yeah, you're right. And he actually worked with me for about a year. I would send him one-liners every single day, which you'd think in the beginning, you're like, cool, it's just one sentence. No, you actually want to send funny stuff. You don't just send random things, because he responded back in the way that, I was raised was, if it's not good, I'm not going to tell you it's good.
Mhm.
And, there was one time he literally wrote back, he goes, do you think this is funny? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, exactly. He goes, so send me some actual funny stuff. And, yeah, he helped me. He got me on track. And then it definitely changed how I was writing, how I thought. And then now it's a lot easier to just, oh, okay, this is how you do it. Set up punchline. Or you could do a story, but you got to make people interested. I could do a 5-minute story now and have you laughing every 15 seconds. And then at the end, that big punchline is, oh, he got me. They all paid attention. To where if I tell you a 5-minute story, a minute in, if you haven't laughed or something's not memorable, you're not going to pay attention. So
Okay, I'm sorry. Every
got
time
more comedy
every
questions.
time you
Let's go,
stop
baby.
talking,
We
I got
got
another
this.
question.
We'll get to the festival. Don't worry.
I know.
I guess I should shamelessly promote right now. Saratoga Comedy Fest. All right. Now, anyways, what do you got?
All right, now back to comedy. Well, I just, and this is, I've referred to this before as the stick-to-itiveness of
Yep.
staying in it, even though, and I think every business owner, most of our listeners are entrepreneurs and business owners. And, one of the things I can't tell you how many times in my career people have been like, dude, you could make so much more money if you went off and did this, or, if you did this.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, man, like I'm going to keep doing this. What was that like for you to be able to, like, 6 months in, you're thinking about quitting, and again, I can attest every business owner at some point, if not every week, is thinking about quitting their business. I like what what at 6 months you're thinking about quitting. Like, why did you stay?
I think it was, like at the time it was Rich helping me. He booked me on my first show, and all my friends came out. It's your first big show, all your friends are coming out. So at that point I was like, well, I gotta at least stick to it this point. I can't be like, hey guys, I'm doing a comedy show, and then a week later, no, I'm not doing a comedy show.
Right.
So I stuck to it. I got laughs. They weren't the greatest. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I crushed. No, it was at City Center, I think it was, or no, the Center Square in Schenectady,
Okay.
whatever that bar is. Ironically, the show was outside. Everyone's set had a train go through it except mine. So everyone got to hear all my bad stuff for 15 minutes. And I think I acknowledged it halfway through. I was like, I would really love a train to go through right now.
Save your
But
set a little bit.
yeah, but nah, I kind of kept pushing through. I had people in my life at the time too that were like, "Are you gonna quit it? You know, everything that you want to do, you usually do pretty well. I mean, or at least try to get to it and do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll keep going." And then, I started getting booked more. My jokes were starting to get better. Started making friends in the comedy world, and it's just, and then eventually, fast forward a couple years later, Hawaii's reaching out, or going on tour with movie stars is like, "Hey, you want to do this?" So I'm like, "Yeah, man, glad I didn't quit."
Yeah, right.
So,
Any plans on being at the mothership anytime soon?
if I can get out to Austin and I had time, I could probably get on there. Depends on, because I've had a bunch of friends that work there and do all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean, Kill Tony's kind of the luck of the draw unless you know him. But I mean, it just depends on the situation. I mean, I look at it to where everyone's like, "Oh, the mothership is great," which it's a great club, but everything's great. But I'm also like, yeah, but have you done Vegas? Have you done, New York? Have you done Toronto? Have you done Chicago, which is a great city? Things like that. And it's like, you look around, you're like, "Oh, wow, I have done that." It's like weird driving out I-90 and seeing all those little towns and being like, "I performed there. I performed there. There's a VFW I know a minute off the road, and I got booed there, but I performed there."
I got booed there. Oh God. Oh. Well, thank you for feeding my curiosity about
Not a problem. I mean,
stand-up
anytime you want to
comedy.
do it, I'll help you write or something.
So let's talk about Saratoga Comedy Festival. Give us the
Okay.
lowdown here on that.
So it's myself, my other producers, Joe and Jay. I don't know if I should give their last names or not. It's up to them, I guess. But Joe works under Rev House Promotions, Inc. I was told it's Inc., not LLC, so that's
Okay.
good. But we decided about a year and a half ago, that hey, like, comedy festivals are fun. You get a lot of people together and stuff. And then I've been to a few festivals where what they did was they had the whole festival in one location. So you didn't have to worry about, getting in your car and going to another place or anything like that, because anyone above the age of 25, we know that if I go to a show and then I have to get in my car and go to another show, I'm probably going home. And so we decided, let's put it all in the same spot. So we're doing it at the Saratoga City Center. We're gonna have 5 rooms running at the same time. So on Friday, there's gonna be 15 shows starting at 6 p.m. 5 shows. There's gonna be 5 more at 8 and 5 more at 10. There's gonna be a food vendor there. There's gonna be alcohol vendor there. We got a whole bunch of sponsors and all that. It's gonna be basically a party. Um, and then when the schedule gets out, which I've been kind of lazy and haven't finished it. I haven't almost there, but I haven't finished it yet. Um, when the schedule comes out, you'll be able to see, and you'll be able to see all the headliners you want to see. We have individual passes for Friday or Saturday or the weekend pass. The weekend pass, which I recommend, just because then, on Friday, if you only want to catch one show and leave, and then Saturday you can catch 2 or 3, and you're going to be seeing guys that you're going to be seeing headliners that are on Netflix, headliners that are on Hulu. Sorry, hold on, my dog is checking in. Hi, Paulie.
Nice.
Hi,
Hey,
Bob.
Pop.
Buddy. Hi, buddy. It's
That's a big head, man.
oh yeah, he's a big boy. That's Paulie for you. Hey, buddy.
Wow.
He's half lab, half pit, full idiot. So, but no, he heard me talking too much and not about him, so he was like, "Let me just interject."
Got to make a cameo.
Yeah. So the festival, like I said, it's gonna be Friday, September 11th, and Saturday, September 12th. We're gonna have, like I said, a bunch of vendors. We're gonna have live podcasts as well. So then, they're gonna have special guests coming in. There's going to be regular comedy shows. There's going to be a couple different ones. We have a show called Interrogation. That'll be, I believe, Saturday. That's where a bunch of comics tell stories about how they had a run-in with the law or something like that. So it's a lot of relatable and it's pretty funny. Corey David's running that one. But overall, like I said, it's going to be a 2-day party, basically. I'm going to perform, I think, if I have time. I'm one of 64 comics that are there.
64.
64, yep. I thought we had 62, and then I forgot about 2 more, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about you guys. So yeah, we're gonna have 64 comics spread out the 2 days. The big headliners are gonna be there all weekend, so you don't have to worry about missing that. And then there's a bunch of local guys on there too, so you'll be able to see that. And then
Well,
there's
that's
a bunch
what I was gonna ask was, like, are there that many comics locally, or you're pulling from other markets?
both. I'm pulling from other markets, but I'm also bringing in a bunch of locals too.
Yeah.
So we have, if I had to say locals wise, I think we have 15, maybe 20, give or take.
Okay.
And then another, 20 to 15 that are, in the middle, guys that, either headlining that aren't famous yet that should be, or like, a bunch of guys that are, killers that you're gonna love the second you see them, and you're gonna be their biggest fan after you see them. And then, we got guys that are names like, Kyle Kinane, who's been, Comedy Central, Netflix, Bobby Kelly, he's been around, he's been touring with Dane Cook, when Dane Cook was popular.
What happened to Dane Cook? Is he still alive?
I think he's still alive. I think he just got old and I don't know. I think he's still around. I think he's still kicking, and like I can't be mad at him. The guy made, millions of dollars and was in a bunch of movies, so it's like, you know what? Good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
We got the show Tires on Netflix?
I do not.
So that I believe it's, when it comes out, is like the #1 comedy of like the week on Netflix.
Okay.
It stars Shane Gillis, which we did not get him. I can't say that we have him because I'll get sued. We did not
Come
get
on,
Shane.
Shane.
I know he costs a little bit. But more power to him. But we do have a couple people that are on that show, like reoccurring characters that are in here. So they're gonna be killers. We got Karen Fian, who's on there, and Chris O'Connor. They're gonna be hilarious. I got Ian Fidance, who is a madman. That's the nicest thing I could say about him.
Okay.
He is hilarious. He is great, and he is just, it's nonstop action and entertainment when he's on stage. And yeah, it's kind of like a rock show. You're not gonna, if you could stand the whole time, you would, for Ian. So, and I got a bunch of other headliners that I'm probably forgetting. I don't have the list in my name or my hand, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. The good thing about it is, another thing that I wanted to bring the festival to the area is because we haven't had this. I don't think there's ever been this many comics in one spot. I know comedy's blowing up. Everyone loves the Funny Bone, the other clubs in the area and stuff like that. You got the Egg, you got, Times Union Center, the Palace, all these places. But at this point, if you can see a bunch of people that you would normally regularly go see in one day, I mean, what's stopping you,
Yeah. People need to laugh more, man.
Yeah, especially with what's going on in the world. And,
exactly.
that's another reason why I don't watch the news. It's like, I just don't want to be sad today.
Do you guys, Travis, have a website, or how do people buy tickets and get more info?
So we have the website. It's SaratogaComedyFest.com. On there, we have a good chunk of our comics listed on there. I got to get on my website guy to make sure we update it more. But we also, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We're always updating that as well. But the website is where you'll get tickets. I know for this next week, ending August, well, it's August 1st on Saturday, so August 2nd on Sunday, we are running a promotion on tickets, just to kind of, help you guys out. And then, prices do go up a little bit just because it's getting closer. But still, I mean, the original price that we're going to have, you're underpaying, really. And I don't mean that as a humble brag. It's just, you're underpaying for the amount of comics you're going to see. If you break it down, you're paying $2 a comic for that many comics. So,
love it.
yeah, it'll be fun. like I said, hopefully I'll have time to jump on stage and actually relax and do comedy. I'm gonna be the guy running around like the Backstreet Boys with the headset and the clipboard and just being like, "All right, is this guy here? Is this guy here? All right, let's
Yeah.
go." So
Yeah, the logistics of that many people performing and all the other things
Mhm.
going into it, that's gotta be
Oh yeah,
something.
I'm a glorified babysitter. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what it is. So.
making sure everybody gets to where they need to be when they need to be, and yeah,
Yep, yep, and then, making sure the rooms aren't overpacked or anything like that.
yeah.
My luck, it's gonna be, "Oh, the light went out in one room," and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, here we go," one of those things. Uh,
Well, I hope it goes swimmingly and, no lights go out, and I appreciate you coming on to talk about it, man, and
of course, I appreciate you having me on, man. I just like I said, we're trying to get it, make it a fun event, because,
yeah,
it's the weekend after track season ends, so we're gonna need something to do in Saratoga. So,
absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, I appreciate it, man.
thank you, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome. And of course, thanks everybody for listening. You can find our episodes on no, sorry, wrong podcast. Buyinglocal.us is our website. You can find this episode and all of our other episodes. You can also find them on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks everybody for listening. And thanks again, Travis. Appreciate it.